it's going to be up to governments to try to rein in the disinformation.
This is a temporary ban. It will likely be, if we're fortunate, a permanent ban.
These folks don't give a damn about democracy. Are you kidding me? It's insanity. So you have Jen Psaki saying that it's the responsibility of these big tech companies to, quote unquote, stop misinformation. Number one, that's just not true. It's not true. Okay, these big tech companies are platforms. The whole point of them is that it is not their job to police what's in the comments. Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act was specifically designed to protect companies so that those companies would not be held liable legally for the stuff posted on their website. So now they're just reversing this. Right now, they're going to say that Facebook ought to be held responsible for stuff that a third party posts on Facebook, which completely defeats the purpose of open threads. It defeats the purpose of comment sections. It defeats the purpose of YouTube and Twitter and Facebook. It destroys them wholesale. If they are responsible for the material that appears on their platforms, then this means that they are effectively the same as the New York Times or the Daily Wire. They are just editorial sites. Okay, that's number one. Number two, when she says that we want them to crack down on misinformation with regard to COVID and elections, let's just note here that the Biden administration has routinely lied about both COVID and elections. The Biden administration has suggested over and over and over again that Georgia's new voter laws are Jim Crow. That is an overt lie. It is an abject, disgusting, overt lie. Those laws are in many ways more permissive with regard to voting than, for example, New York or New Jersey. There's no one who has a shred of sanity who believes that those laws look anything like Jim Crow. The great lie that Democrats have been promoting, that voter suppression has been deciding elections, it is a lie. But they don't want that lie shut down. They want that lie promulgated. They want that lie promoted. They want it trumpeted from the highest rooftop so they can pretend to black Americans that the GOP is trying to shut down their rights. So those sorts of lies they want promoted. It just depends on the misinformation. And when it comes to COVID, I can't think of a bigger purveyor of COVID misinformation than this administration. They keep just saying stupid crap that makes no sense about masking and outdoor standards and the efficacy of the vaccines. It's just ridiculous on every level. But this is the going push by the folks on the left. The going push is shut down dissemination of information. It's what they want. This is authoritarian stuff. I have a new book coming out called The Authoritarian Moment. It comes out in July. One of the things that I discuss is one of the reasons that the left wants to keep focusing on January 6th, because January 6th was really terrible. It was a terrible, terrible event for the country. But the reason they want to keep their focus on January 6th is to overlook the fact that the reaction to January 6th on the left is significantly more authoritarian than the actual effect of January 6th. On January 6th, a bunch of authoritarians went in and tried to overturn the legitimate results of an election. That's true. And it was like several hundred idiots, and then they were immediately cleared out, and then a bunch of Republicans certified the election. It was over. The major institutions in American life, the biggest, most powerful institutions in American life, are attempting to destroy your ability to disseminate information, to see information. They are attempting to destroy your ability to raise your child as you see fit. They're looking to destroy your business if you fail to comply with their woke standards. The authoritarian movement in the United States is not chiefly from the right. This doesn't mean there aren't authoritarians on the right. There are. But the authoritarian movement in the United States, the dangerous authoritarianism that we experience in everyday life and at every level of American society, is coming from the institutional heads inside Blue America. Like, I don't know what to say about the fact that Hillary Clinton, who is Secretary of State and Senator from New York and nearly the President of the United States, she's out there saying, yeah, no, this is great. Big tech needs to shut down Trump, or we should shut down big tech. Okay, this is just authoritarian stuff.
There must be a reckoning by the tech companies for the role that they play in undermining the information ecosystem that is absolutely essential for the functioning of any democracy. And it's going to be up to governments, and I would even hope some global rules, but let's start with governments, to try to rein in the disinformation on the social media platforms.
First of all, that should scare the living hell out of you. When Hillary Clinton and Democrats start talking about global governance, what, do we want Zimbabwe's input on how information gets disseminated? This is one of the big problems for Facebook. Facebook is a global company. What they should be doing is promulgating First Amendment American standards. They are not. They're seeking explicitly to have other governments regulate them because they don't know what to do, because otherwise they're held liable in places like Germany for speech they're not held liable for in places like the United States. So when Hillary Clinton says we need an international global standard on free speech, understand that's what we're talking about here. The idea that government's job is to rein in the dissemination of information is precisely the reverse of the First Amendment. It is precisely the opposite of the First Amendment. And the fact that they've gotten all of these social media companies to basically do this stuff voluntarily under threat just demonstrates that essentially they're using these major corporations as their agents. We are now operating not in a free market capitalist America with regard to social media. We are operating in a corporatist America with regard to social media, where they are given special privileges by the government, and then the government tells them, all you have to do is implement standards that we like about information that we don't like. Adam Schiff, one of the great purveyors of misinformation for years, right? I mean, this douchebag was on MSNBC every single day talking about how the other shoe was going to drop. It was going to come out that Trump was actually peeing on Russian prostitutes, or they were peeing on him, and all of this was all Russian collusion. The evidence would show up sooner or later. Here is Adam Schiff saying that he hopes that the ban from Facebook is permanent on Trump. Of course he does.
The president here is continuing to go out and push the big lie about the election, continuing, I think, to endanger our democracy by doing that. And so he continues to make the case that he would violate the policies if they readmitted him. And I think, frankly, pathologically, he's incapable of changing. So this is a temporary ban. It will likely be, if we're fortunate, a permanent ban, because the president is not going to stop the lies about the last election or lies about the next one. He will incite people.
I swear, I don't want to hear about authoritarianism from a group of people who are using their perch in government to attempt to literally stop a political opponent from being able to speak. I mean, that is the essence of authoritarianism. What you're watching right now from the White House, from Congress, from Hillary Clinton, from this whole cadre of the mainstream establishment left, is we want to use the methods of informational dissemination to shut down our political opponents. And we want to threaten them to do it. We're going to threaten these companies in order to make that happen and give them special privileges and pat them on the head if they're good little boys and girls. It's insanity. But we're told that the authoritarianism is on the right? The hell it is. By the way, not to be self-serving here, but the reality is this is one of the reasons why you should go subscribe to the services that you love right now, because at any moment, this entire tsunami of authoritarianism nonsense could be pushed against anybody, including places you like. It could be pushed against Daily Wire. It could be pushed against my show. Go subscribe right now over at Daily Wire, because, again, you want to protect the content that you love, because I don't trust these people, do you? I don't trust these tech companies are going to stand up to the overwhelming tsunami of authoritarian nonsense being pushed by the establishment left. Yeah, this is the establishment left. This is not... And it's amazing how fast the liberal movement caved in the United States to this insane censorious left. How many liberals are left to stand up to this? How many liberals still stand for the original principles of like the ACLU? How many people still believe? I remember in the 90s, people used to say I'm left all the time. This was their great civil liberties moment. They would say things like, I may not agree with you, but I will defend to the death your right to say what you want to say. Right? You remember dissent is the height of patriotism? You remember this during the Iraq War? No longer. Now, according to the establishment left, you disagree with us, and we will find a way to shut you down, including, by the way, the sitting president of the United States at the time. We will find a way to stop you from speaking. And it would be one thing if they had any sort of articulable standard that is consistently applied, but there is no articulable standard that's consistently applied. The Biden administration routinely lies. The Biden administration routinely says things that are untrue. Democrats, members of the media, have openly defended acts of violence depending on who is committing the acts of violence. None of them have been banned. So what this really is just about power. It's so funny. The entire deconstructionist movement, the sort of philosophical deconstructionist movement, is about the idea that there are no centralizing principles. Everything is just a power game. Right? That when people talk about freedom and equality, when people talk about the principles of the Declaration of Independence, they're lying. That really all that was a guise for power. It's all just a facade. Right? It's a way for rich white men to cram down their own version of the system. It's all projection. Okay, deconstructionism from the establishment left is just projection, because for them, there are no universal principles. It is just about power. There are no universal principles that apply to your rights. There are no universal principles that apply to the level of misinformation that can be disseminated. There's nothing consistent here. It is just about what they can get away with and what kind of power they can use in order to apply pressure. That's all. And that's authoritarian. There's no other word for it. Okay, what we are watching right now, again, this is not just a pitch for my book, but it is a pitch for my book. The book is The Authoritarian Moment. You can go pre-order it right now on Amazon because I go through all of this in detail. They have renormalized America's institutions in order to silence everyone they disagree with, and they are doing it with big tech right now. And so for people on the right who are like, yeah, there's a wide right-left agreement that we need to shut down big tech. No, they disagree for completely different... They don't like big tech for completely different reasons. The right wants big tech to consistently apply any standard, hopefully a very broad free speech standard. The left wants to simply run these companies. The left simply wants to make sure that you cannot speak, that you cannot share, that you are not allowed to have organic reach with the stories that you push, that you never see the information they don't want you to see. Most obvious example being that Hunter Biden story, the New York Post Twitter account shut down a month before the election because of a true Hunter Biden story, Facebook shutting it down, preventing the dissemination of even the link. You couldn't even link to it. And you watch, this is the next move. What you will see is that now that Donald Trump has started his quasi-blog on his page, the next move by Twitter and Facebook will be, you are not allowed to tweet any link from that blog. Because again, this is not about freedom. It is not about protecting democracy. These folks don't give a damn about democracy. Are you kidding me? They want to completely rewrite the rules of the game. They want to completely federalize every election procedure in the United States. They want to make ballot harvesting legal. They want to make sure that voter ID cannot be put into law. And then they want to cram a bunch of seats into the Senate in undemocratic fashion in order to stack the system in favor of their own political priorities. They don't give a damn about democracy or the procedures of the Constitution. It's all just a power game. In the end, it's all about power for the establishment left. There are no principles. If you're a believer that there are principles from the same people who are saying that misinformation has to be shut down on the internet, but we can lie as much as we want, I don't know what to tell you. They're unprincipled. It is just power. I know what you're thinking. It's time to binge some more Ben Shapiro videos. Well, you are right. You should. But first, like and subscribe. Perfect. I'll see you in the next video.